Hello everyone. Today I want to tell you about a new anime that came out in the winter season of 2025. It's a romantic comedy titled I Want to Run Away from Princess Lessons. The first episode was very funny and entertaining, and I think you'll enjoy it. Our main heroine is Letia Dorman, the daughter of a duke. She lives in a family where her father cares deeply about his reputation and status. When Letia was 7 years old, she received a letter from the king announcing her engagement to Prince Clark. It should be noted that she had to leave her home and family behind to learn courtly etiquette and appear worthy as a princess. Letia was a happy and energetic girl who loved walking around her home, playing with her dog named Jana, and enjoying the beautiful garden. However, her life changed dramatically when she learned about her engagement and the need to move to the palace. Her father took this matter very seriously and left her no choice. Letia set off for the palace with her older brother Nadier. Along the way, she slept the entire journey, perhaps from excitement or fatigue. At the entrance to the palace, she was met by a butler who heard her in the corridors. She noticed that some nobles were talking about her, which likely added to her nervousness. In one of the halls, Letia met a woman named Layla, who became her mentor. Layla was responsible for teaching Letia everything she needed to know and do as a future queen. These were lessons in behavior, speech, dancing, eating, and other skills necessary for life at court. Letitia's days were filled with lessons, and she gradually became more fiery and educated. However, despite this, she lost her joy and enthusiasm. She missed her former life, playing with her dog, and the freedom she enjoyed at home. The only familiar face for her in this new challenge was her brother Nadier, who however was very important and insisted that she take her new role seriously. He left her a maid named Lily, who cared for her, brought her food and clothes, and supported her in this unfamiliar environment. As the years passed, Letia grew up and became a beautiful and noble lady. She turned into the perfect princess that her mentors and parents spoke about. However, inside, she still felt discontent and a desire to return to her former life. One day at a ball, Letia met Prince Clark with another woman, Brianna. The prince informed Letia that he could not be her partner for the evening as he was occupied with Brianna. Letia realized that the prince had fallen in love with someone else, and this became a turning point in her life. She remembered a promise her brother Nadier had made to her. He said that if the prince fell in love with another woman, she would be free from the engagement. Letia decided to take advantage of this opportunity and break the engagement. She approached her brother Nadier, who had previously promised to fulfill her wish if the prince fell in love with someone else. Nadier agreed, and Letia happily left the palace, leaving everyone puzzled. After that, she returned home, where she was greeted by Lily. Letia was happy and told Lily what had happened. She also offered Lily to accompany her in her new life, as she planned to go as far away from the palace as possible. Lily agreed, and together they set off on a new journey full of hope and possibilities. At the castle, Isabella and Catherine are gossiping about how it's a shame that Letia left, as she seemed to be a good bride for the prince and could have become an excellent queen. At this moment, Sebastian runs in, announcing that Queen Laura wants to hear their account of the ball. Suddenly, they hear Brianna shouting. She is the prince's new fiancée, who can't handle Lady Lila's strict lessons. Now it becomes clear why it was so difficult for Letia at the castle. Meanwhile, Letia is having fun at home, rolling around in the grass in the garden. She's free. Lily also seems happier after their engagement to the prince was broken off. During a walk, Letia catches a fish with a rod, but suddenly Prince Clark appears, almost making her fall. He saves her, but she's more concerned about the caught fish. The prince watches as Letia prepares fried fish. After tasting it, he burns his tongue because the food is hot. This makes him wonder why he always gets cold food at the castle. Letia jokes that it's to prevent burns. In the village, Letia shows off her skills in making fishing hooks, which impresses the local residents. The prince advises her to be careful not to hurt herself, but she dismisses it, calling the activity harmless. The villagers notice that life in the village has become more cheerful since Letitia's return. The prince realizes that if he takes her back, it will take away happiness from these people. It turns out that Leticia's engagement was not actually annulled. When this information becomes known, Brianna refuses to be the prince's fiancée upon learning that he plans to have children only with Letia. She also doesn't want to endure Lady Lila's lessons. When Leticia's parents learn about this, they arrive at the house to discuss the situation. Her mother is upset while her father remains calm. Realizing that she doesn't want to lose her freedom, Letia decides to run away again. However, Brianna intercepts her, insisting on returning her to the castle. Letia offers her to marry her brother Nadier instead, who, despite having a bad temper, is a good match. Brianna agrees, allowing Letia to escape once more. But Prince Clark catches her just before her escape. Instead of getting angry, he simply asks her about the color of the dress for the next ceremony, leaving Letia speechless. The queen shows interest in Letia, although she does not mention her by name. She asks Sebastian to find the woman who caused a commotion at the ball, which could be either a favorable or dangerous sign for Letia. The situation becomes more complicated when Prince Clark personally comes to Letitia's parents. They are both pleased and bewildered by what is happening, but can do nothing about it. The prince literally carries Letia out on his shoulders. She tries to appeal to her brother for help, reminding him of his promise, but he ignores her and tells the prince that everything is ready, even the carriage for their return to the palace. During the journey, Letia seeks support from her new acquaintance, Brianna, with whom she made a deal, but Brianna turns away. The only one who tries to support her is Lily, who wishes her happiness. In the carriage, the prince gets too close to Letia. He confesses his feelings and asks if she sees him as a man. Letia perceives their relationship as formal, but the prince's words about wanting children only with her make her nervous. When he tries to demonstrate his feelings, she pushes him away and apologizes. However, the prince remains calm and offers her to take a nap, resting her head on his shoulder. Both fall asleep. Upon arriving at the palace, the prince shows Letia a field with animals and rivers where she can engage in her favorite activities. He explains that he wants her to be happy and free, offering her all this in exchange for agreeing to marry him. He kneels again and asks her to marry him. He has already arranged things with the king, who agreed to cancel her princess lessons, considering her mature enough. If Letia refuses, the prince will have no heirs. However, Letia continues to decline. The prince places her in a beautiful room, but she feels like a prisoner there. In one of her escape attempts, she encounters a new maid, Maria. Letia decides to swap clothes with Maria to escape, but Maria alerts the guards and the prince finds her. As punishment, he stays with her, talking about his feelings. Letia tires of his speeches, and Maria begins to treat her coldly. Despite the pressure, Letia remains firm in her intention not to marry someone she does not love. She tries to escape again by breaking the window, but is caught by the prince once more. He talks to her about the wedding and her future wardrobe, which irritates her. After Letia broke the window and attempted to escape, she was moved to a room with bars. This room was previously used for alleged traitors to the crown. A companion named Brianna was assigned to Letia, hired by Prince Clark for a good sum of money. Brianna believes that the most important thing in the world is money. She reads a romantic novel where Letia is depicted as a heroine enduring harsh lessons for the sake of love. The people admire Letia, considering her a role model, although she herself opposes this image. Letia confesses to Brianna that she doesn't know what love is, but wants to be free and meet her true love. In the evening, her brother arrives with a letter from their mother and some signature muffins. A competition starts between Letia and her brother over who gets the best muffin, but in the end, they both eat a spicy one that their mother specially prepared. At night, Letia finds a secret passage behind the books and accidentally meets Prince Clark. He says he has been waiting for this meeting and would like to spend more time with his fiancée. Letia is concerned upon seeing a bed in the room, but the prince explains that he just wants to be closer to his future wife. The next morning, Letia, with Maria's help, blocks the entrance to the secret room with a column. However, the prince still enters through the door and demands the passage be restored to its original state. Letitia turns to her brother for help, but he thinks it's normal for the groom-to-be to want to be near his bride-to-be. Letitia firmly tells Prince Clark that she does not want his embraces or closeness. She threatens to stop calling him by name if he continues his attempts. The prince is upset by this refusal and agrees to follow the rules. Now, he will notify her in advance about his visits. Maria brings a schedule of the prince's visits. He intends to visit Letitia every day. Despite her requirement for prior notification, the prince retains the right to regular meetings. Maria offers to help Letitia prepare for these visits. Brianna feels pity for the prince because she believes it's impossible to win someone's love without getting closer to them. Letitia, however, insists on her right to maintain distance. At the ball, Letitia is searching for Prince Clark, but becomes upset upon seeing him talking to another woman. She steps out onto the balcony, where it starts drizzling, and she thinks that the sky is crying over her sorrow. At this moment, a random kidnapping occurs. It turns out that the kidnappers mistook her for Maria, Letitia's maid. Prince Louis learned that Maria works in Prince Clark's palace and decided to find a way to meet her. Previously, Maria belonged to a noble family, but then lost her status. Realizing their mistake, the kidnappers find themselves in a difficult situation. They have the future queen as their hostage. They decide to release Letitia, but she offers a deal to take her to Del Veron, where she wants to live an ordinary life. Together, they head to an inn. It becomes apparent that Prince Louis has never tried common food before. His servant Lel and Letitia tease him about his lack of knowledge about ordinary people's world. At night, Letitia decides to escape, realizing that her promises might not be fulfilled. At this time, Prince Clark finds their hideout. He is displeased that Letitia spent time with other men. The situation is saved by Nadier, the court mage, who announces to everyone that it was just a meeting of relatives. Afterward, Clark and Letitia are left alone. Clark expresses concern for Letitia's safety and shows his feelings through embraces. In the morning, Letitia's brother tries to explain why she should stay. He tells her that Clark is a good person who truly loves Letitia and is willing to fulfill all her wishes on the condition that she stays with him. Upon returning to the palace, Letitia sees that Prince Louis will be studying there for some time. Maria is clearly unhappy about this. Meanwhile, Brianna notices Prince Clark again in the company of the same woman from the ball. Her friends, Brianna and Maria, help her understand what's going on. While Letitia is angry at Clark for ignoring her, she doesn't know the whole truth. Brianna recounts that she saw Clark with a beautiful stranger at the ball. They danced closely, and this woman even visited his chambers. Letitia decides to find out what's happening, but to do so, she needs to get out of her cage. She asks her friends to help her investigate. Maria and Brianna begin gathering information around the palace. The maids and guards confirm that Clark spends time with this lady, and soon they learn that he went to the city with her. Not wanting to waste a minute, Letitia convinces Brianna to follow them. In the city, they discover Clark and the mysterious woman in a men's club. Letitia decides to make a scene, but the situation turns out to be comical. The woman turns out to be Duke Neil, who enjoys dressing like a lady. Of course, why not, thinks Letitia, feeling a little foolish. Clark explains that it was just a business meeting and invites Letitia to spend the day together. They share a drink, accidentally exchanging an indirect kiss, which makes them both blush. How cute, thinks Letitia, though she still tries to pretend that she doesn't care. At the end of the day, Clark gives Letitia a music box with a figurine of an animal symbolizing loyalty. Letitia is touched by the gift, but continues to insist that she isn't ready for an engagement. "I'll still try to run away," she says, although it's obvious to everyone that her feelings toward Clark are changing. Duke Neil, Brianna, and others watch the couple from afar, pleased that their plan worked. "Well, now she definitely won't run away," jokes Neil, while Brianna laughs at his eccentric behavior. Prince Louis and Neil wander through the servants' corridors to deliver macarons to Marie. Neil thinks it's a bad idea. It's dark, they could get caught, and being caught would be considered a crime. Suddenly, the macarons fall, and a strange, ghostly figure appears. Both panic and run in different directions, but Neil finds the others and tells them what happened. Letia, fascinated by the idea of ghost hunting, suggests everyone go looking for Luis. The group finds the spot where the macarons fell. Nadier proposes splitting up. He takes Brianna with him, while Letia goes with Prince Clark. Along the way, Clark tells scary stories about how some nobles disappeared from the castle at night. Meanwhile, Nadier and Brianna end up in a strange room filled with animal parts and taxidermy. When Nadier investigates a suspicious rustling sound, something resembling threads suddenly lifts him into the air. Brianna panics and runs away. Neil, upon waking up, says he knows where Luis is because he saw it in a dream. He can communicate with spirits. The team decides to explore parts of the castle rarely visited by the royal family. However, their plan to split up ends badly. Maria gets pulled into a mirror, followed by Neil and Prince Clark. Letia, skilled in exploration, discovers a secret entrance. She climbs to the top of the tower, activates a mechanism, and falls through a hatch into a room. There, she meets all the participants of the story. It turns out there was no ghost. It was Queen Laura, who had been using the hidden room as a spa for beauty treatments. Brianna, Nadier, Luis, and the others were simply relaxing there, unaware of the commotion outside. Letia remains troubled by the figure she saw in the garden. It is soon revealed that it was Lily, Letitia's maid, who wanted to protect her. At the end of the episode, Queen Laura gifts Letia a map of the castle that she once used to escape. She calls it a woman's secret, and Letia thanks her for the trust. Little Clark often skipped his lessons until one day he met Letia. She was crying by the palace gates because she had been forcibly brought to live in the castle. Since then, he always kept an eye on her, even though she avoided him. The adult Clark reflects. Does he have the right to insist on marriage with Letia if she doesn't want it? It's an important question, as arranged marriages were common in their time, but Clark understands that coercion is not the answer. During an official visit from Nathan, the Crown Prince of Delvin, Clark recalls his attempts to win Letitia's affection. When Letia disappeared, Clark found her in the greenhouse. However, Nadier took her home, believing she needed time to understand her role as a future queen. Over time, Letia grew cold and formal with Clark, following all the rules of etiquette strictly. Nadier assists Clark, offering gifts and ideas to bring them closer. He even orchestrates a plan where Clark flirts with another girl to make Letia decide to run away. This is part of Nadier's cunning scheme to get closer to the royal family through his sister. However, Clark genuinely cares for Letia and doesn't want to force her into anything. He's willing to respect her choice, even if she doesn't want to have children immediately after marriage. When they were children, their first meeting was quite sweet. Letia thought Clark was a doll, and they started playing together. But over time, everything changed. Letia began avoiding Clark, while he continued to watch over her, wanting her happiness. Noticing this, Nadier decided to use the situation to his advantage. He claims he only wants the best for his sister, but his true intentions remain questionable. In the present, Nathan suspects something is going on between Clark and Letia, but both deny it. Clark openly states that he will never pressure Letia. He understands that her happiness is the most important thing. Meanwhile, Nadier continues his path to power, using his sister as a tool. A father and his 3 sons arrive at the castle to repair the hot springs that Neil wanted to fix. The youngest son has a small pet hidden in his bag. Meanwhile, Letia and her friends are calmly drinking tea in their room. However, their peace is broken when Lila appears, furious because Letia has forgotten almost everything she taught her. It turns out that the princess lessons are back, but now they're queen lessons. Letia tries to escape again, accompanied by Lyle, who also wants to leave the castle. Both are tired of following orders and seek freedom. During their escape attempt, they wake up the entire castle and get scolded. Despite this, they continue to support each other, which irritates Prince Clark greatly. At night, Letia tries to escape again through a covered ventilation shaft, but gets stuck. The next day, Clark finds her and, though uncomfortable, helps her get out. After this incident, Letia feels embarrassed and hides in her room. The prince convinces her to come out for a distraction, taking her to a special garden he prepared long ago. There, they enjoy a picnic and share a tender moment that is interrupted by Neil. The hot springs are finally ready, and everyone relaxes in them. Dale, Neil's relative, shares his story. He gave up royal life to travel and start a family with a non-noble woman. This inspires Letia, who dreams of having freedom. However, their tranquility is threatened by a giant carnivorous animal named Milo. The danger ends when they discover that Milo was only looking for its offspring, which is being kept by Dale's youngest son. Finally, Letia faces Lila to resume the lessons, though this time they will be to become queen. Letia requests to learn about gardening to create a space where she can plant flowers and host gatherings. Lila agrees to teach her after regular classes. At night, the princes enjoy the hot springs along with Lyle, who still can't go see his beloved. Letia wakes up late, and Maria tries to wake her up because she has a meeting planned soon with Queen Laura. On the way to the meeting, Letia notices the open doors to the hall with paintings, which are usually closed. One of the paintings catches her attention. It depicts two children under a tree surrounded by flowers. During the meeting with Queen Laura, Letia cannot hide her true feelings for Clark. The queen asks her if she finds her son attractive, and although Letia tries to deny it, she is easily seen through. Lila, translating Letitia's words, emphasizes that she has always been an open book. After the meeting, Letia is left bewildered. Why does everyone around her think she's in love with Clark? Later, she discusses the nature of love with Maria and Brianna. Maria dreams of a strong man, while Brianna shares her first romantic experience. Letia concludes that love can last forever if it is cherished. At night, unable to sleep, Letia opens the music box gifted to her by Clark. As the melody plays, she begins to dance and fantasizes that he is dancing with her. At that moment, new feelings begin to bloom in her heart. The next day, Letia visits the hall with the painting again. Noticing the scent of a blossoming tree, she realizes it's the same tree depicted in the painting. Memories flood back. When she was little, her father brought her to the palace. She climbed the tree, fell asleep, and then fell, but young Clark managed to catch her. That moment became their first meeting. Now, as an adult, Letia climbs the tree once more. When she comes down, Clark is there waiting and catches her. Letia confesses that she remembers everything. They embrace, and Clark tells her how he fell in love with her at first sight. Later, Letia attempts to make him a flower crown but struggles. Clark makes one himself and gives it to her. Gathering his courage, he asks her to become his wife. Letia agrees and admits that she has always loved him too. The episode ends with a romantic moment. Clark adorns her hair with flowers and kisses her. Now Letia is ready to stay with him, and their relationship takes on a new level. The wedding preparations turned into a real nightmare for Letia. Endless discussions about outfits, guests, decorations. She even considered running away. Prince Clark wasn't feeling great either. He dreamed of a quiet life in the countryside with his beloved, but his duties as the future king weighed heavily on him. In a conversation with his father, Clark admitted that he wished for a simple life for the sake of love. Unfortunately, Lyle overheard this conversation and misinterpreted the prince's words. He concluded that Clark was planning to abdicate the throne and run away with Letia. The rumor quickly spread throughout the castle. Lois rushed to tell Maria, hoping to buy his freedom if she agreed to leave with him. Maria, however, was more concerned about how to help Letia and Clark. Together with Lily, they began planning an escape, even considering stealing the crown jewels. Brianna reached out to Isabel and Catherine, notorious gossips at court, to organize the getaway. Nadier noticed Lily's strange behavior and started investigating. Neil learned about the stolen necklace that was supposedly going to finance the escape. The rumors continued to mutate until everyone gathered in the grand hall, where Lael spilled everything he had heard. Upon hearing this, Letia became furious and accused Clark of cowardice, reminding him of his promise to care for the kingdom. However, it soon became clear that it was all just a misunderstanding. Clark had never planned to abandon his duties. He simply wanted to become a good king for Letitia's sake. After some explanations, the couple reconciled. The wedding went beautifully. Letia walked down the aisle arm in arm with her father, surrounded by the gazes of friends and family. Clark couldn't take his eyes off his bride, and Letia, winking at the audience and saying, "No running away now." Matthias, the little prince, encounters Lila, who constantly watches over him. Meanwhile, Letia is happy after her wedding to Clark, although she feels a bit nervous about the wedding night. Clark, as respectful as ever, decides not to pressure her, showing patience and understanding. This creates both comedic and tender moments when Brianna tries to convince Letia to wear more provocative clothing for the occasion, but she flatly refuses. On the other hand, Clark continues spying on Letia as he has for years, according to Nadier, who insists that he should get closer to her. However, Clark states that he will do nothing without her consent. This demonstrates his love and respect, although they still haven't had intimacy, despite sharing a room and bed. Later, Lois arrives to bother Letia as usual, but ends up being the victim of a prank. Together with Brianna and the others, they transform Lois into a princess for fun. This moment reinforces the family-like dynamic and closeness of the group. Then, Brianna attempts to sell transparent clothing to the castle, but Letia refuses to buy it. Clark, on the other hand, wants to purchase some pieces, which provokes laughter and jokes between them. In another scene, Matthias disappears, causing concern in the castle. Finally, Letia finds him in the greenhouse, where he confesses that he was trying to fix the music box that Clark had given her. Letia is charmed by his gesture and hugs him excitedly. At night, Clark finds Letia and Matthias asleep in the greenhouse. Everyone is relieved that the boy is safe. Back in their room, Letia and Clark share an intimate moment. She kisses him on the cheek, but when he tries to get closer, she stops him, saying they should sleep. Finally, Clark repairs the music box and returns it to Letia. They dance together, but soon decide to go horseback riding around the castle, meeting up with their friends. In the end, they stop facing each other on their horses and share a kiss, closing this story with a romantic and hopeful tone. Subscribe to keep up with next week's road. But for now, watch this next video. I'll see you all in the next one.